The position of sex work is deeply complicated in modern feminism. Has anyone reacted negatively to you about it?
Not at all. I suppose in a way, what's shocking is that it's still relevant. That to me is what is shocking, and that you think, so why is it that men need this?
Is it weird being on stage with your mum?
No, I love it.
It's lovely.
It's fantastic.
Oh, it's absolutely, it's great.
Now, if Bessie had been bad,
They would have told me.
would you have said, darling, I just think probably not?
Well, we're quite honest people.
I mean, Imelda, you backed Labour at the election.
Yeah.
Are you happy with how they've done? How do you think they've gone on?
I mean, I'm a...
Well, we're joined now by Dame Imelda Staunton and indeed her daughter, Bessie Carter. I was just thinking, I think this might be the first mother and daughter combination we've had in the studio.
Oh,
So
well,
there's a little bit of history for the newsagents. Yes, and congratulations to the two of you. And on the play, Mrs. Warren's Profession, which I saw on Saturday night and thought was fantastic. For those who haven't seen it, I was about to say without giving anything away, but it was written in 1893, so I kind of feel that the spoiler alert has passed at this point. But just give us a précis, a sense of what the play's about.
Well, so as you said, written in 1893, and George Bernard Shaw, well ahead of his time, in women's corner. Championing. He's a great champion of women. So this play is about a woman who has a profession that no one ever wants to talk about, but has made a lot of money because she came from abject poverty, and has made a lot of money. Therefore, she sent her daughter to good schools and university, giving her a better life. Of course, they are now two completely separate people and have nothing in common whatsoever.
And even their class has sort of
totally.
moved
She's
apart.
she's
They've
put
moved
her
apart in their
daughter
lives.
into
Yes.
a different class,
Yeah.
thinking she was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And the play takes place over a few days when they meet. They have only met for a few times over 20 years because my character has been living in Europe with her business. And so they meet and they have to sort of discuss what is going to be the future.
And indeed, the profession is, and this is the thing that made it shocking in 1893 and why it wasn't really allowed to be performed until 1925, was that she herself became a prostitute, and then she is running brothels around Europe, which horrifies her daughter, Bessie, yours.
And a lot of society, and all society.
And indeed all society. I mean, the thing watching it, and I'm not sure is often known for this, but nonetheless, watching it, it was shocking how contemporary it feels. Right. I mean, I was sat there thinking about OnlyFans, and I was sat there thinking about all of the different ways in which we're still having this conversation. And also, actually, for something that was written in 1893, the thing that sort of shocked me about it was how taboo it still felt. That moment, Imelda, when your character, Mrs. Warren, actually fesses up and says that this is what she does, it still felt shocking to hear a woman speak about sex work, prostitution in that way, running a brothel.
It's still taboo, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's still taboo. There's still so much shame attached to it, when actually the question you want to ask society and the people up top with all the money is, well, then give them a better choice. You give women better options then if they don't have enough money, that's actually one of the only viable ways to make money to survive.
Yeah, women are still having to choose between working in a factory of some sort or going into
OnlyFans or anything, like you say, to be able to afford university. So it is. I mean, the wealth discrepancy is, as you know,
it's still very popular.
Yeah, it's still popular. It's still relevant, but it's the widest divide we've ever had in the history of ever.
Did it make you rethink your own attitudes towards sex work, towards prostitution, doing the play?
We were extremely fortunate that a sex worker agreed to come and talk to us, an extraordinary woman, and just said that what has changed? Nothing. And that sort of shocked me.
So she, having seen what you were doing,
yeah,
looking at this work from 1893, a contemporary sex worker saying,
nothing's
I have complete
changed.
resonance with this.
Yes, and she came to see the play sort of a week or so ago, and she said, thank you for taking on this piece that most people don't know the play. And as you said, you were shocked to be shocked by it. But she said, thank you for taking it on, and thank you for being unapologetic about it. Because if you sort of turn these characters into, a sympathetic character, or this poor woman, but this Mrs. Warren is a strong woman who said, right, I've got a choice here. I either disappear down a black hole and be dead by the time I'm 20, or I go and do this. and help girls who are struggling, and that we look after the girls in the houses, and in all the sort of the positives of sex work. So I feel rather proud that we've brought this subject to the fore in the West End, and also wrapped in a play that, of course we could do it in a very old-fashioned way, but we wanted to make it feel contemporary, but obviously honouring Bernard Shaw's writing, which we have done. We've
Which
made cuts,
even sounds contemporary. I mean, I even love the moments of, someone speaking and someone interrupts them, and then they go, "Wait a moment, I haven't finished."
I've not done.
Yeah, I've not done.
Which is
Women
quite
being
an
able to say, "No,
American
I've not,
sort of-
I've not done. Let me finish what I'm saying. Even those
Yeah.
little micro moments are just also so modern, I feel.
Well, not least because the character of Mrs. Warren actively anchors it around the idea of her own liberation, which feels very contemporary, right? She
Yes.
basically says that I had a choice. Either I could use my looks or have men use my looks for me, working in a bar or working in a restaurant or whatever it happens to be, or I could use it myself. And I think that is the thing that it struck me that was most taboo. The fact she's so unashamed. She's actually, she doesn't get discovered by your character, Bessie, and goes, "Oh, I'm terribly ashamed about it, I'm terribly sorry." She's completely unrepentant about it.
Yes, and also another reason why the play wasn't allowed, because the title, Mrs. Warren, that suggests a married woman, having a profession. Absolutely not acceptable. So, my goodness me.
But also,
that's-
sorry to interrupt you, but the
No,
the
that's fine. In the
cleverness,
play, it's absolutely fine.
yeah, I'm not done. But also George Bernard Shaw's sort of intelligence in educating this daughter out of, like you said, out of a position that would tolerate what her mum does.
But it's also I think taboo for a slightly different reason, which is really contemporary, which is actually obviously the position of sex work is deeply complicated in modern feminism and modern politics. It's not as if it is viewed as being something that is liberating for women. Indeed, much of the critique of contemporary feminism is that it's the opposite. It's just a form of further male alienation, exploitation. So there's that. Because, as you say, Imelda, you're sort of proud to have put it on in that unapologetic way. But there may be contemporary feminists who went to see it and actually don't like the interpretation of it, because they might feel that in some way it does vindicate a sort of view of sex work that they don't find very appealing or acceptable.
Well, we can never know that. I mean, that's why I feel privileged of putting the play on, is that it asks questions of the audience, and it doesn't try to answer any of them. I think that's what he does so well. It's an ambiguous ending, but it's a play of arguments and a play of argument, and it doesn't answer the arguments. It
leaves it up to you.
It leaves it up to you to make your mind up of what would you have done in that. It's all a play about circumstance. What would you have done if you were in that circumstance? And let us not judge people so harshly. Let's think about where they come from in their origin story before we just go, "Oh, you are X, Y, and Z label. I'm going to write you off, or I'm going to look down on you, or I'm going to shame you." It's asking people to wait a second. Let's hear each other out. Let's come together and have a conversation about it and be honest. And I think that's what the world needs more of anyway. You can label it as feminism or whatever, but I think the moral is to come together and talk about it.
Has anyone reacted negatively to you about it, about the subject?
No.
No one.
Not at all. No, not at all. Because, I suppose in a way, what's shocking is that it's still relevant. That to me is what is shocking. And that, you think, so why is it that men need this? What's in society? We're all talking about the women doing this job. What about the men who go to those places? Well, let's talk about them for a moment.
So true.
And, in the play, Mrs. Warren has a line about all the girls, and some of them did very well, and one of them married an ambassador.
And she's very proud of it.
Very proud of that. But we said that to our wonderful sex worker who came to talk to us. And I said, what about this line about marrying an ambassador? And her response was, well, he did rather well also. We talk about, the women must marry up and come out. But what about what the sort of woman he married? What an amazing woman for him to marry. So we all think it's much better for the girl that she's married an ambassador, not the ambassador marrying this rather marvellous woman.
But it remains a taboo subject even at the top of politics, in the sense that in terms of the legislative framework around prostitution, around sex work, has remained largely unchanged. It's not something that tends to be discussed. It still remains quite taboo. And that is despite the fact that, as I say, these themes have now got all sorts of contemporary manifestations that, Shaw could never have imagined, which is the internet, things like OnlyFans, people's ability to sell themselves and their bodies is now far greater than it ever was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet that taboo in terms of the top of politics, in terms of our discussing it, is
because
remains.
it's all still male. I mean, like the top of the world is still male. So of course it's still.
So we're ashamed of we ourselves are ashamed of it, so we don't want to talk about it.
Well, yeah, and yet still pump money into it, by paying for it. So it's I don't think it's black and white. You can't sort of say it is bad, it is good. It's so nuanced, but I do think this play, as well as sex work, it is looking at wealth as well and misogyny. Not
so
just...
I wonder, you know the example of the story about Lily Phillips, the girl. She was on OnlyFans. Right. She slept with 100 men in a day.
I don't know this.
Well, she was, and it became a sort of course celeb. It became a sort of big issue, and people started to discuss it and talk about it. I just wonder whether doing a play like this and sort of thinking about these things, whether it's made you sort of rethink any of your attitudes to these sorts of matters, or to the question of kind of, I mean, Bessie, you are, we'll get onto this, but obviously you're Imelda's daughter, so you're probably a little bit more, you're probably thinking about some of these things and seeing these sort of things online and digitally and so on. Has it made you rethink any of that?
I've always been incredibly open-minded and quite generous and kind of spirit, I like to think, and I would never sort of, I don't want to judge anyone for what they might feel that they have to do, and I don't want to judge the circumstances that they find themselves in. And I also feel like there is a reclaiming, I think, happening of women's bodies and empowerment that, some women really just want to go, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, but I'm going to do what I want. It's my body and I enjoy this. Then I'm like, you do you. That's fantastic. I don't feel it's my role to comment on it, really. I feel like my role as an actor is to produce work and do work that talks about the thing rather than me defining what the thing is.
Well, of course, one of the very interesting twists to this entire thing is that, of course, you're playing a mother and daughter, and you are mother and daughter.
Mm-hmm. That we know of.
Yeah, indeed. How did that change how you went about this? Is that the reason you wanted to do it in the first place? I mean, what is it like, sort of work? I mean, people do work with their children, but it's in a particularly intriguing way when you're playing. I mean, when I went to see it with my wife at the weekend, we were talking afterwards and we were saying, do we think that we're trying to work out whether it added something to the performance or not. Well, of course, you can't quite work it out because you can't see what it might have been, Imelda, if you've been playing with somebody else.
I think it adds an element that we have no idea about.
Right, yeah.
Because people say that, they think, I wonder what that's like for them. So there's another element already there. But we can't play that. We're not trying to do anything with that. We're just two actors doing this job. I'm just talking mainly about our lunch and what we're going to have. But it's been. I think it does add a depth to it somehow, but I can't define that, no. And I don't think I should bother because it's just there, and I think.
I wonder if we weren't related, if we would have had to felt like we'd have to act slightly more similar, or so. Do you know what I mean?
If you're an actor, you're channeling your experiences at some point anyway, right? So presumably. It was happening in ways that are quite imperceptible.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't
yes,
define it.
So.
It's very difficult to say what it is.
Yeah.
Is it weird being on stage with your mum?
No, I love it.
Lovely.
It's fantastic.
Oh, it's absolutely. It's great.
We are actually having a nice time.
Yes.
You've got your husband and your father in it as well. I mean, they make it a real family affair.
Yes, good luck with that.
In case people don't know, it's your father and your husband is Jim Carter, the well-known actor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fancy doing that next? Three of you?
Good luck trying to get him on stage.
He will not do that.
Not going to happen.
No. What, with the two of you or just in general?
No,
he don't know that.
He'll be very happy
he's done that.
watching.
He's done that. But I think it's. I don't think I would have wanted to do it unless we were doing it together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think it's been. I think it is rather interesting that it's a mother and daughter, and because in the play they don't have a very good relationship, and that wasn't something that we struggled with because we have a good relationship. So it was just, that was
a good challenge, like a healthy acting challenge.
What is it like actually following two famous parents into their profession, Bessie? Because I can imagine
think of it as following. Actually, it's like I'm carving my own way. No, because it wasn't something that I was like, I'm going to do what Mummy and Daddy are doing when I was 5 years old. It was actually deeply separate from what. It was sort of weirdly just what I loved doing the most. So it's what I did at school. I did every sort of thing I could get my hands on outside of school, the NYT and all of that stuff.
Is it hard, or is it? I can imagine it both being sort of somewhat easier and harder at the same time.
It's both. Yeah, it is both, and that's a sort of interesting challenge in of itself. But I also don't spend much time thinking about it. I've been asked more about it in the last couple of months, obviously doing this play, than ever in my life. And I'm sort of trying to think, should I come up with a more interesting answer? But I can't, because the honest truth is that it's just been fine.
I suppose it's not uncommon. There are lots of acting.
Or like surgeons. If someone's son goes in or daughter goes in to become a surgeon, they don't go, and what's it like being a surgeon like your parents? But I suppose because we're in the...
More exposed.
It's more interesting.
I suppose one thing that probably comes up with it is that, and this is of course not in any way your fault or something you have to explain yourself for, but we do know that of course access into acting, into theatre, particularly for people who do not have it in their families or are coming from underprivileged, deprived backgrounds, it feels as if it's never been harder, or at least it feels like it's harder than it has been for a long time. I mean, is that something that you think about, that you worry about?
Yeah, I do. I think about that with, loads of I went to Guildhall, and there's loads of people in my year who, around COVID, when obviously acting stopped and everyone was then in the same boat, the first people who then started acting again were the people who were well known prior to COVID, because everyone was just desperate to get back to work. And a lot of people, you're right, who don't have as much perhaps confidence or ability to live in London because of the cost of living, I do think it's harder for them, for sure. And my heart goes out to them. But something I pride myself on is, obviously this job, we were running the risk of, I wonder how they got that gig. But I sort of beyond
really
that point.
Tough play to do. That's what I'm proud, that it's a tough play to do. So it doesn't feel like an easy gig for both, either of us. And I think, Jim and I were always aware that we didn't want to do any string pulling, and just thought, right, if you want to try and act, then you've got to audition for drama school, because we ain't, going to just say, oh, my daughter wants to do this and do that. So you had to do that. And, you have to get yourself in the door, and then you have to get yourself the job. We can't get the job for them.
You get found out. If you're not good enough at acting, you get found out. Your career won't last. So I'm sort of just continuing to try and be good at my job and try and get better with every job I do.
Can I ask an indelicate question, Imelda? If I assume you wanted to be an actor from when you were very young. You were exposed to it. You were growing up in this family and so on. You presumably knew other actors. Now, if Bessie had been bad,
they would have told me.
Would you have said, darling, I just think probably not?
Well, we're quite honest people, and I think it would have saved a lot of suffering.
Because it's a tough, it's a very tough industry, and if. There are lots of people with loads of talent who don't make it.
Totally.
And so if...
but I remember working at Guildhall auditions, and we would say to the people, to the auditionees coming in, if there is anything else that you think, I kind of could also do that, because it's tough. I mean, not only just the sort of rejection, but, you work one job, you don't get 9 jobs. You have to have a thick skin, so it's tough. It's a tough industry.
It's weird, because it's sort of tougher now, and yet there are more opportunities. And yet there are a lot more people trying to do it. So you sort of think that would equate. You think, well, a lot more jobs, a lot more actors, there we go, sorted. But actually, I mean, you know more than I, the amount of young people who are struggling. Because you cannot, for example, pay your rent in London or in Birmingham and then go and work somewhere else and pay your rent over there. Cannot be done.
But it feels to me that we almost don't care. When we're talking about access to theatre, particularly for working class kids, I feel that, maybe because this is the world that I know best, within politics, it often feels as if it's talked about those sort of things as if it's a second order thing.
Yes, it is.
As if sort of working, as if
the arts don't matter, as if the arts don't...
Well, I remember when Sunak, for example, would talk about, he would talk about maths, or he would talk about science, and he would talk about these things, and then talk about Mickey Mouse things, and some of that would be theatre. But then there's this sort of feeling that somehow working class kids somehow don't get it, or that it's sort of superfluous, or that it's second order to them. And isn't that something? But that feels to me that's something that the theatre world itself has to push back on.
Well, the theatre world are trying with the money that they're given. So you can only do so much with the funding that you're given, right? And there are some wonderful things like Open Door that a friend of mine, David Mummoney, set up, which is an amazing thing, which pays for kids train tickets, audition fees. Because if you keep putting all of these barriers in between children who cannot afford to get the train to London to audition for Lambda, then how are you going to have a new generation of actors from all different backgrounds? So it again comes down to money.
Do politicians get the arts?
No.
This new government? Do they get it? They don't get it.
I don't think so. Not as much as one would hope.
Does Keir Starmer get
it? He said he was going to get it, but I don't think it's made. I mean, like a lot of things. I mean, who would be a politician to get something done in the first year. How do you get anything done in the first year? You're undoing so much stuff that's gone before. I think all politicians, I mean, I'm sure the arts are way down on the list, and probably so it should be, with health, education, housing. Of course, we're going to come somewhere. But the arts will always survive because, you know, people want, I mean, it's a cliche, but people want stories, people want to be entertained. And the London theatre, I'm not sure about outside London, which, well, I am sure that it hasn't come back after COVID as much.
It hasn't.
Not really, and neither has Broadway. London is doing fantastically well because we're still writing new plays. People are still wanting to see a new play. Yes, of course, we've got all the musicals on as well, but we're giving people such a choice. And I think, I mean, my thing was that I think you have to make sure that the theatres around England are still operating under some, you know, in some way, because people are hungry for that. The emptier the high street is, you want to think, well, let's pop a theatre in there and fill it, because it will be full. I
mean, Imelda, you backed Labour at the election.
Yeah.
Are you happy with how they've done? How do you think they've gone on?
I mean, I always go on the side of, I don't know how they do anything at all, because I just don't know how you can make any impression of any change. And I just want, part of me wants to have about 4 months of the press. Just step back a minute.
Oh no, we can't do that.
No, you can't. No, I know. I mean, I want them to get on with
stop attacking.
No, I want them to just get on with their job. And people say, "Have you seen what he's done now? Have you seen what she's done now? Have you seen?" You think, can we just let them give them a go? Give them a go. That's what I want. You know, I want 4 years. I want them to carry on, and I certainly didn't want anyone else.
Here's a question for a couple of actors, right? In terms of Starmer, how do you rate his performance? And I don't say this in a flippant way, right? This is a part of politics. It is a performative. It's a performative business, right? You've got to communicate. You've got to inspire. Do you think he could do with some help?
I'm sort of staying out of it.
If he phoned you up, Imelda, and said, you know, I could do with your help, a little bit of help.
No, I'm not interested. I want someone to just do their job. I don't care how they perform. Yeah. I want someone to do their job honestly, and I think he's an honest and a good man. And I'm not interested in performance. We had a performer, and he was useless. Yeah. And I'm not interested in show business in politics. I know it's going that way, but I don't want that. I want a grown-up, and I think he's a grown-up.
Something obviously that I know sort of stayed with you was the Queen's death, because you, of course, played famously Queen Elizabeth II in the last series of The Crown, last 2 series of The Crown. It's funny, isn't it? When the Queen died, there was so much talk that somehow the royal family would not be quite the same, that Britain wouldn't be quite the same. And yet here we are. Things feel as if they've sort of rumbled on. Obviously, many people will feel that there was a loss. But do you feel that we've lost something, Imelda, when the Queen died? Or do you think there's something so sort of permanent about the royal family?
Yeah, I do think that, well, maybe it's because she was my whole life. So I think, oh, right, so that's something gone from a lot of my generation's whole life. And a person who just got on with her job 365 days of the year, or whatever-ish, you know.
Not performative.
Not performative at all. And whether you're a royalist or not, there was someone who just got up every day and just did the job. And I do think that Charles does that also, as does Princess Anne. So I just like people who do what they say they're going to do and perform their duty and have responsibility and are serious about the job. And, you know, and unfortunately, I think for politicians, everyone wants them to perform and everyone wants them to look a certain way and, oh, what's he wearing that? You think, can't you just concentrate on what the seriousness of politics is and not what they look like, how they speak, and all of that. I mean, I know we're living in a world of pictures. And that's what, doing this play where we have very long paragraphs and people who just have to listen to what we're saying rather than quick fix and sound bites and short sentences and you know, that we cannot just sit for 5 minutes. And this is what's probably quite nice about this, that you can sit and listen to someone.
Do you think is that a problem in the theatre now? That people have got so used to the sort of instant hit, the tweets, the looking at the phone, the kind of like, I even feel it myself. I love the theatre, right? But I think we can all feel to some extent our attention span has diminished. And so you can sometimes feel, as I'm sat there, I'm loving the play, and there's this kind of little, well, like, you just a sort of slight, maybe it's the journalist in me, so I'm just looking at it.
Yeah.
But, there's this kind of twitchiness about, I wonder what's going on my phone.
Well, interestingly, what we've experienced is the complete opposite of that, is there is an attention in that theatre that I've never felt.
I can't believe it.
The audiences are rapt, and all of our pals and whatever who come back afterwards all say you can hear a pin drop. People are willing and wanting for their attention spans to be lengthened.
Is it a bigger
again.
problem in theatre generally, though? You think it's? I mean, theatre plays.
Yeah,
have got a
phones
bit
going off all the
shorter.
time.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Come on, phones going off. We all know that is a big problem, I think. But I think what we need to continue doing, which we're doing, is to challenge audiences, because they still turn up. I mean, we're having full houses, so people want to come for an hour and 45 minutes and sit and have their attention in one place. So I think, rather than giving in to let's just give them a quick 10-minute thing and then a break and then no, let's continue to challenge.
So any other mother-daughter roles you quite fancy doing anytime soon? You've done it once now. You can make a habit of it once a year or so.
I would like to work with her again.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Oh, I haven't thought of anything.
No,
actually,
can't think of anything else.
We're so down this
There probably
tunnel.
aren't enough good mother-daughter roles in theatre, though, right?
No.
There's been quite a few good ones on telly recently. Kate Winslet did that thing with her daughter, didn't she?
Yes.
Ruth. There's some good stuff on telly, but plays. I'm not too sure about mother and daughters.
No, I don't know. I've
got quite a good one.
Juliet and Juliet's mother.
No,
That's not a big enough part. That's not a big enough part for you, Imelda. That's the problem.
But also, I also want. I just like being in the now and just going, right, we're just doing this. I'm not bothered about what comes next.
But at least we know it works.
Yeah.
And remind us when the play is running until.
The 15th of August.
16th.
All right.
See, that's why you need your daughter
That's why
with
we're
you.
here.
It's a good thing we said, otherwise she wouldn't have turned
Daughter
up.
slash
I get the
PR.
understudy in. Imelda, Bessie, it was so lovely to meet you.
Thank you,
so
and
much.
thanks for coming.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.